I'm Erin Brothers, Director of Music Ministry at Dixon United Methodist Church. Happy 4th of July! It's been said so many times, but yet again this year we will celebrate a little differently. It's a strange juxtaposition to celebrate Independence Day when we are relying so heavily on our friends, family, and neighbors to work interdependently. We put a lot of weight and importance on independence in our culture. We shouldn't need to rely on anyone. We should be able to do everything and be everything for ourselves, by ourselves. I mean, as a great poet once said, all the women independent, throw your hands up at me, right? But in Psalm 18, we hear a different perspective. Verses 1 through 6 say this. David said, I love you, Lord, my strength. The Lord is my solid rock, my fortress, my rescuer. My God is my rock. I take refuge in the Lord. God's my shield, my salvation's strength, my place of safety from my enemies. Death's cords were wrapped around me. Rivers of wickedness terrified me. The cords of the grave surrounded me. Death's traps held me tight. In my distress, I cried out to the Lord. I called to my God for help. God heard my voice from God's temple. I called to God for help, and my call reached God's ears. David was definitely not a self-made man. As a boy, he was chosen by God to be king. As a king, he made some really bad choices with which God was not pleased. And of all the choices he had to make as king, the ones that hurt his people were the choices he made alone, without prayer and thoughtful meditation, without listening to what God wanted from him or what God wanted for the people of Israel. Because of the emphasis we put on being able to take care of ourselves, the word dependent has a lot of negative connotations. We call our kids dependents on our tax forms. It's not a positive to be a dependent adult. But like David, we just can't do everything alone. God is a resource, a refuge when we are in distress. God's care is something on which we can depend. And in the example laid out in the psalm, it's okay to ask for help. I believe very deeply that God didn't make us to be purely independent. Sure, we should be self-sufficient, able to do the things we need to be healthy. But here's the rub. Part of being healthy is building relationships with others on whom we can depend when we are in need. Part of staying healthy is thinking of how we can be people on whom others can depend. During this pandemic, nothing has ever been more real, and we can show our dependability by praying and calling out to God, but also by washing our hands and wearing a mask when we go out, by loving on our neighbors with surprise porch drops and video chats. When we take care of each other, we are becoming God's hands and feet, answers to pleas for help. We can still be independent people with our own views and opinions. But while we are thinking for ourselves, we can also be thinking of others. So for this 4th of July, in the midst of all the crazy, I'd like to say, Happy Interdependence Day!